So it's interesting that the first thing I have written here is all caps Emilio, because Emilio Estevez is in this, and I haven't seen that guy in so long, man.
Is that what it sounded like in your head? And you were like, Emilio!
Yeah, because it's Night at the Roxbury. They're standing in line. He's like, yeah, and I was standing there and I saw him. I went, Emilio! He's telling the story about how he saw Emilio Estevez. I was laying there with a hangover, and I was going, Emilio! Out loud. It hurt, but it was worth it. But yeah, Emilio Estevez is in this for all of 30 seconds. And it really seems like his character design was... The studio execs were like, okay, we want Emilio Estevez to be... We want him to dress, just real cool. And I guess this is just what cool looked like in 1996. He's got the little earrings and the glasses, but he's also got the scruff, He's like the cool computer nerd. That's who he's supposed to be. I like it, though. I like Emilio. And I have a vivid memory. The first time I watched this, I couldn't have been but like 6 or 7. And I vividly remember Emilio Estevez stuck on top of the elevator. And the spikes come out to catch the elevator, and his face goes straight through a spike. And I had nightmares. Like, I couldn't sleep. I was going and sleeping with my parents for like 2 weeks because of Emilio's death.
It was pretty brutal. It cut off right when it hit his face, but man, you can definitely see the damage.
Did they? So they just left him there, right? What
Yeah,
happened to his body?
They did.
Did he ever...
Did they recover his body? No, I think they just left it on
on
the top of the elevator. Imagine like everybody else, like weeks later, they're like, "What is that smell?
Something smells awful." And then they just find this dude's head dangling from a spike on top of the thing. Also, he had plenty of time to save himself. There were 4 spikes for the whole elevator. He could have rolled in any direction and been perfectly fine.
He just stood there.
But he froze
like
and he got his face impaled. Also, this movie pioneered something that would continue to be a mainstay in Mission Impossible movies ever since, which is the mask reveal. They love that.
Yes.
Now, it seemed like in this one, the mask reveal wasn't quite as good because they didn't really have the CGI for it. So there's a point where you can see, like, obviously there's a cut between what is a CGI face or what is a real face, and then it's just a person tearing off a piece of rubber. But yeah, I mean, that's continued to be something that they've done in Mission Impossibles and that I really enjoy.
Also, I just love how chilled the team were in the beginning, right before they went to that party. They just seemed like the chillest group of people.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a super cheesy scene or anything. It wasn't super serious either. It was just a group of average,
super
just a
spies.
crew.
Well,
Yeah.
I think what that really helped with is it felt like these guys had been doing this for years. Say what you want about this movie. It has its shortcomings, but it is extremely fun, which is something, I mean, Jordy, you and I love Mission Impossible movies, but we say the same thing about them every time we talk about them, which is we don't remember anything about them. I just watched this movie. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why they're doing it, but I also don't give a shit. That movie's so much fun. Now, look, we haven't done a rewatch in a while, but my favorite one is Mission Impossible Fallout. I think it's yours too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, out of all of them.
What's that movie
is the
about?
best one. I don't know. I just know it requires a lot of running from Tom Cruise.
A lot of running from Tom. And that's the thing about these movies. I think they don't have to be too well thought out. I think the plot holes don't really matter that much because it's just fun. It's just fast-paced fun. And this may be the slowest paced of all of them. It has the least Tom Cruise running for sure. But
yeah, again, they're trying to build up this whole story, and I don't think at the time they even knew this was going to keep going. Like, it was straight up a spy movie. It wasn't much of a action yet.
One of the notes we've got from one of our listeners was that we should have more non-action movies. And I think when people think about Mission Impossible, understandably they think of action movies because of what they've turned into. But I really don't think this is an action movie. This is just an espionage film. And it plays differently than any of the other ones. They get more and more actiony and they kind of lose their roots a little bit. But I mean, I don't think they lose the spirit of what the movies are. I just think the genre shifts as it goes on. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
Oh yeah. So when Ethan Hunt called for help in that phone booth and then met up with, is his name like Kittredge or something? Is that how you pronounce his name?
I believe his name is Kittredge.
Yeah. So he met up with this guy in a restaurant. And I really like the shot where Ethan found out that there was this second team spying on their team.
Yeah, I do too.
And then they were showing shots of every single shot from the earlier scenes in the party. And you can see like these background characters just staring at them.
So that restaurant scene is actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Maybe my favorite scene in the movie, besides the heist itself. We're seeing him put the dots together. You know, we're figuring out that he's been duped at the same time he's figuring it out. And that's what's kind of cool about that scene. But Dutch angles are shots where the camera is tilted, right? So instead of being, you know, let's say typically how you would take a selfie, for instance, it's just straight on at your face. It would be like if you tilted the camera 45 degrees and then took the selfie. That's a Dutch angle. Typically, Dutch angles, I mean, they're for sure overused in cinema today, but every once in a while, they really work because Dutch angles are super appropriate for showing confusion or anxiety, panic, things like that. And this is maybe one of the best uses of Dutch angles I've ever seen in my life. He's sitting at the table and he doesn't even say anything. It just clicks to him that there was a second team. And there's a Dutch angle shot on Tom Cruise's face as he realizes this. And I was like, oh wow, that's good. That's good because clearly he's filled with anxiety. Look at his face. Look at what he's just been through. It makes sense for there to be a Dutch angle here. I don't like the shot after that, which is then a Dutch angle on Kittredge. But another one of the things I remember from my childhood when it came to this movie is the scene where he folds the gum and throws it on the fish tank and it explodes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that that was one of the big stunts Tom Cruise did in this movie. And as we know, I mean, those stunts get more and more ridiculous as the franchise has gone on. I love that fish tank explosion. And, you know, switching topics again here, we're kind of all over the place this podcast, but how did Jon Voight get a wife that hot?
That guy's doing really well for himself.
He's killing the game. Good for Jon Voight. I mean, but he's got to be at least 50 in that movie, right? And she's maybe 30.
Yeah, probably in their 30s.
I don't know. He's doing a good job, though. I'm proud of him. And clearly she's, I mean, expendable to him. Later in the movie, he shoots her to death and doesn't bat an eye. So maybe he just has a gaggle of women following him around everywhere. He's a coxman.
Okay? I'm not gonna apologize. I'm a coxman.
Shortly after that, we get, our first real shot of Tom Cruise running in the Mission Impossible franchise. He ran a little bit to get to Jon Voight earlier, but nothing like this. First time we've seen it. He gets faster with every movie, by the way. This was a young Tom Cruise.
Yeah, this was just a jog, a little stroll.
A light jog at 45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So when they go to steal the knock list, that heist scene is an iconic scene. And I think the thing that really makes that scene so good is the complete silence. And it makes it so you really understand the stakes. Not only are the floors pressure sensitive, not only can Tom Cruise not get too sweaty while he's dangling from the fucking air, there are noise requirements. If it gets too loud, it's going to trip an alarm. So they have to stay completely silent. And I think it was a great idea to have no music playing in that scene. It's complete silence. So you're aware whenever you hear anything, it makes you think, oh, fuck, they're about to get caught. After they finally get the disc, Tom Cruise does some quick sleight of hand magic on screen, like he makes a disc disappear. That is the biggest stunt he does in the movie, compared to Mission Impossible Fallout, where he learns to halo jump. This series has changed so much. It's like a good version of Fast and Furious. That's how much these have changed.
Exactly. That's the only comparison I can even think of.
But it works with these.
Yeah, these are actually good movies.
Yeah, I think I will always have a soft spot in my heart for Fast and Furious because I like cars and I like to see big dudes punch each other. That being said, I love those movies in a ironic sort of way. Mission Impossible, I genuinely adore. These movies are phenomenal.
Fast and Furious is fun to watch, but this is a whole different level. Like, you can actually, like, I feel like this shit could actually win awards.
Well, maybe not this one, but Fallout?
No, not
Absolutely.
this one. Fallout, oh yeah. That Halo jump scene alone?
Absolutely.
The way it was shot.
So good. So good. So, one of the things I find interesting about the Mission Impossible movies is that Tom Cruise insists on there being a different director for all of them. So, the only exception to that is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, which is the 5th one, and Mission Impossible Fallout, which is the 6th one. But besides that, every director's different. They never have the same 2 directors, ever. It's like it's a bizarre choice, but it seems to work. And what's interesting about it is that every movie feels different too.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a reason, like, did he give a reason why he wanted to go that route?
I mean, maybe he did. If he did, I'm not aware of it. But I'll say this: the obvious reason is that you don't want it to get stale. That's one of the issues you run into with a lot of the longer running film franchises is that they start to feel the same. You know what's going to happen. Now, these are the same in that you know there's going to be some stunts and you know it's a spy movie. But besides that, you really have no clue where it's going to go. And they fit some really good stories into these. You get a lot of really solid character development, specifically with Ethan Hunt. And I think a lot of the reason it never gets stale is because you have new talent in there deciding where the story is going to go, how things are going to be shot. Even the looks of these movies are different. You take 1, 2, and 3... they're all completely different. Brian De Palma directs the first one. This doesn't look anything like Mission Impossible 2, which is directed by John Woo, or Mission Impossible 3, which is directed by J.J. Abrams. Every one of those movies has a completely different look and feel.
It's really cool.
And also what's good about it is,
like,
I mean,
makes sense.
A quick spoiler for Mission Impossible 2. We haven't watched it together yet. I don't like it. It's the one Mission Impossible movie that I really am just not a fan of. What's good about it is I only have to deal with one John Woo Mission Impossible movie. So if there's a directing style you don't like, wait 2 years. They're going to drop one with a completely new director, and it might be your favorite movie of the year.
And it makes sense because, I mean, obviously they're going to bring some new ideas, change some shit around, but still keep some of the basics they've already applied to the first one, like you said before, the using the face mask. All right, so budget was 80 million and the box office was 457.7 million, which made a fuck ton of money. That's a lot.
That's a profit right there.
All right, so the crazy thing is the budget was originally supposed to be 40 to 50 million because that's what the executives wanted. But Tom Cruise single-handedly increased the budget, demanding it to be, because he was demanding the movie to be more of a big action type show, which is, you know, his words, I guess. Right. And that ended up increasing the budget up to 62 million. So I don't know where the other 20 million came from, but I have a feeling it was because of him.
I bet I can tell you exactly where that went. I bet that went into the train scene.
Oh, yeah.
Because, look, that train scene looks like dog shit now, but in 1996, that looked good.
Yeah, that's really impressive for 96.
Yeah.
Especially for a movie that they're just starting to take off with.
Well, especially for a movie that's only $80 million.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the next time we record one of these for the second one, what that budget difference is going to be. Because that's such an incredible profit off of such a small amount of money. I bet they gave them free reign on the next one. I bet the budget for the next one goes through the roof.
What are you predicting?
120 million.
Yeah, I would have to say the same. I guess we'll find out
I guess we will.
on Mission Impossible 2.
I'm dying to rewatch all of these, but I'm going to have to grit my teeth and not do it.
I know. It'll be worth it, though.
It will.
So here's another fact. So the train scene, he said that there would be a lot of money into that.
Right?
There isn't any specific figure in terms of finances to what they did with like CGI and stuff. But okay, so the rail authorities did not want any part of the stunts performed in this movie. I guess they thought it was too dangerous for Tom Cruise to do these sort of stunts. But yeah, the track was not available because they were not comfortable with them using the trains. But this is what Tom Cruise did. Tom Cruise really wanted the TGV trains, which is supposed to be these super fast trains in France. I don't know if they're still one of the fastest in the world, but at the time they were. And Tom Cruise took the train owners out to dinner. And the next day, the train owners were like, we'll let him use them.
The next day, not only did they let Tom Cruise use the train, but they had both converted to Scientology.
Yes. I have one more thing.
All right.
Tom Cruise wanted the wind to be so powerful in that scene to the point where it would knock his ass off the train. But Tom Cruise had difficulty finding a machine that would be capable to produce that kind of wind. So
he took God out to dinner.
So the only machine of its kind in Europe was located and acquired by Tom Cruise.
Of course it was.
And that machine produced winds up to 140 miles per hour.
It's a hurricane level machine. What does he need that for?
He wanted to distort his face.
It did.
That's why he got it.
It did distort his face. Yeah, well, I mean, in a way, it really sold that scene. It really sold that scene. Okay, so, look. Let's cut to the chase here. 0 to 10, what do you give Mission Impossible?
This one, I would have to give it... I would give it a 6. Only because the rest of the... Well, after Mission Impossible 2, they start raising the bar so high. Like, I just can't see this reaching up to like a 7.
I hate to say this, but I agree with you. I give it a 6. The only reason I give it a 6 is because the pacing drops so badly when you get to the second half of the movie. That pacing slowed way down, and I really stopped caring about what was on screen. In fact, I mean...
It's pretty telling that the magic scene that Tom Cruise performed was the highlight of the second half.
It really was, yeah. And yeah, that's not to take anything away from the train scene, because now that I hear that, it's like, hey, I mean, he went through a lot to make that happen, and it worked. It's just that an action set piece isn't enough to keep me interested in a movie. And that's really all they had after the vault scene. And, yeah, so I guess we're both giving it a 6 out of 10 for Mission Impossible 1. I still love this movie. I mean, this is the kind of movie where if it's on TV, I'll watch it. Not that I have TV anymore, but, 10 years ago when I had TV, I would have watched it. So I think, excluding number 2, it doesn't hold up to any of the other films in the franchise. But it's still better than most movies today, I think, that come out. It's a solid movie. Alright guys, thanks for watching our video, and if you're interested in more content, this is actually just a snippet from a larger podcast. It's called the Unnamed Movie Podcast. We're on Apple and most other places where podcasts are listened to.